the January transfer window, just over a week to go, gents, and some big US men's national team players are being linked with moves late on and some really intriguing ones. So let's start with probably the biggest report of them all. And that's from Marca in Spain. They're saying Christian Pulisic is wanted by AC Milan. AC Milan are apparently sources close to Pulisic. This is what the reporters cite, and they've already said they want him, they want to sign him, and talks are going to begin with Chelsea this week over Pulisic, and they want to sign Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. So I was thinking about this fit, how does this come about? I know Pulisic was very close with Olivier Giroud when he was at Chelsea. Tomori's there. Obviously, Sergino Desta's there as well. So there's some things there I think maybe bubbling behind the scenes. But when you look at the moves that they've made, Nick, I'm talking about Chelsea now, with Mudryk coming in, Madueke, with João Felix. I mean, a lot of attacking midfielders, a lot of specific left wingers there, who play in Christian Pulisic's position. He's got 18 months left on his contract. I mean, kind of all makes sense, right, for him to move on now. Chelsea maybe get a bit of money back, and then they can all move on. But what do you think about this report? Do you like it for Pulisic, or do you think it's still too early for him to leave Chelsea?
Oh, those are two very different questions, aren't they? I actually kind of do like it for him. I like the idea of him coming in as a new toy for someone and getting the chance to be that new toy. He's the sort of electric player who can catch a club at the right moment and become their talisman. I like that the same way, because the other guy I've heard linked with Milan is Saint-Maximin from Newcastle, who currently hasn't been starting a ton because they've had the right mix with Almiron. And when I think of AC Milan, I think of the players like Ronaldinho, and I think of style and flair and winning with a little bit of pizzazz on the pitch. So I think Christian Pulisic could very well be a AC Milan player. I also think we saw him start 3 straight matches for Graham Potter, and I want to know what Graham Potter thinks about that. I think Chelsea, to go back to the last segment, has a legit chance to rebound if they get healthy. Right now, it's hard to see I don't know, all the trees falling down in the forest. I don't know how to do the forest trees comparison, but more than Liverpool, I would bet on Chelsea maybe figuring it out with, right now, no Zakaria, no Conte, no João Felix, even with the suspension. So I like the move for Pulisic. I don't think it has to be the end of the road for him at Chelsea or the right time for him to leave, but sometimes fate intervenes.
Yeah. Andy, do you agree with that? Because I think we talk a lot about the right time, the right fit, and I kind of want to see Pulisic in Serie A. I think it might suit his game a little bit better, and I'm not saying it's less physical, but I think the intensity of Serie A in terms of just compared to the Premier League, it's different. Every player says that when they come over. I just think Pulisic over the years, the physicality of the Premier League has really had his impact on him. We can see that of all his injuries, and maybe this league in this team might suit his skill set better.
Yeah, you just kind of reframed, I think, or you pointed out that we've been having kind of the wrong conversation, I think, about Christian Pulisic at Chelsea, and reframed it in a way that I think makes a bit more sense. He is good enough to be a Premier League starter, even at a club like right there on that top 4 precipice. He's good enough. But is it the right fit? And the physicality-wise of the Premier League, it's something that we talked about with Brendan Aronson coming in this summer to Leeds, and he has, after initially doing very well, he's struggled a little bit, I think, to kind of continue that once the physicality of the league started to take its toll on him. And so I do kind of think that this would be a pretty good move for Pulisic if he is wanted there, if it is wanted by the manager, if the manager is going to be in charge for at least a couple more years, and we feel confident about all of these factors need to be considered when Pulisic is making whatever decision he's going to make. If it's going to be in January, if it's going to be in the summer, even if it's going to be next summer, and he lets his contract at Chelsea wind all the way down, which I can't imagine that the club would want to do, but he has to take all those factors into account, because these next, 3.5 years to the next World Cup, hopefully the club that he goes to next is where he's at when the 2026 World Cup rolls around. That means he's gone to a stable place. It means he's been good. It means he's been healthy. It means that he is probably producing. Serie A, I think, would be a good spot. Milan, maybe. Rafael Leao coming in off of that left side, I think, is a huge rising star. And I think they probably expect to be losing him in the next 6 to 12 months. And so if Pulisic is seen as maybe it's a short-ish term replacement or even a long-term replacement, someone a little bit more experienced and veteran, that could be a really, really good landing spot for him, but also for the U.S. men's national team.
And Milan obviously challenging for trophies all the time, doing really well domestically the last few seasons, Champions League, they're going to be there most seasons. So it's a good landing spot there. But going back to like when he first turned up at Chelsea, we all had our reservations, and maybe that's been proved right over the years. But you couldn't blame Christian Pulisic for taking the opportunity to go to Chelsea and say, you know what, if it doesn't quite work out, then you can make a bit of a step sideways or down, whatever way you look at it, to a Milan, to other teams back in Germany or elsewhere in Europe or even the Premier League. So I don't think anybody ever says he made really the wrong decision to go there, but it was just a riskier move to go to Chelsea to start with. And at times he's been brilliant. And I think at times his most brilliant moments have probably mostly come in the Champions League, which for me, again, is a style of play thing and maybe a slightly different league and just skill set, I think, would suit him better. So I like this move a lot. Nick, Weston McKennie, he's been linked with Arsenal and Leeds United this week. Fabrizio Romano saying that Leeds have him very high on their list and they're looking to add yet another American player this month. I mean, what do you think about this potential move for him? And I guess what would be a good next step for him? Because he's at Juve, a huge team, but we know all about their financial problems, the points deduction. There's a lot going on at Juve. And the reports seem to center around McKennie being one of their most valuable assets that they could sell and could replace somewhat easily. And then maybe he wants to move to the Premier League, right? We've spoken to him about this in the past. That's where he wants to be. So usually it's linked to Tottenham, but now he's linked with Arsenal and Leeds in the last few days. So do you like these moves for him? Where would he go?
Yeah, I like the move to Leeds a little bit better than I do for Arsenal, just because I think he fits the profile right now. Although, I was going to say earlier, I stopped myself, but I'll say it now. Pulisic's move over to Serie A would feel like a little bit like he was a baby Dybala. I think McKennie coming the other way has a chance to be maybe a little bit of a baby Gundogan, one of those players who comes in and works his butt off to get himself into those places, scores a few memorable goals, and doesn't kill your team. I think McKennie is, just like you said with Pulisic and Serie A, he might be built for the Premier League. And I'll tell you what, maybe I'm saying Leeds just because I want him and Adams playing together as often as possible. That would be beautiful. Imagine we've got Robinson and Ream at Fulham and McKennie and Adams and Aronson together at Leeds. Sign me up.
Yeah, and maybe Destin Pulisic at Milan long-term down one of the flanks as well. So, some good chemistry building there. Andy, what's your take on McKennie? Because had a decent World Cup, kind of up and down. He was injured before that. You kind of could tell in some of those games he was a little bit spent fitness-wise. But when he's fit and focused and fully on it, I think, like Nick mentioned there, I think the Premier League intensity of it would suit him pretty well.
I disagree. Fitness has been a big issue for him his whole career. Like I think it's probably a big reason why, especially at Juventus, he's not become like a guy or not even like been able to nail down a full-time spot because he's talented enough. He is a very, very interesting player in an interesting kind of tool for any manager to use tactically because he does so many different things that you don't expect from a player of his size, his physicality, and just his presence on the field. But if you're going to bring him to the Premier League, and especially into a Leeds team where it's run, press, tackle, Weston McKennie is going to be tired by 60 minutes every single game. Weston McKennie is probably going to be hurt as well because that has been another issue, the intensity of that. Italy feels like the right spot, honestly, for him to be in, but not Juventus right now, probably just given the situation and what's going on at the club. So Leeds would see to be motivated by nothing but ulterior motives beyond the field and what happens on there. So I'd be shocked to see that. I'd be shocked to see him go to Arsenal as well. Send him to Milan. Let him get with Pulisic. Let him get with I love what you guys were talking about just a moment ago, having kind of U.S. men's national team pods sprinkled throughout Europe. Can we get somebody else to Lille with Tim Weah and give him some company? Like that is that's a strategy that a lot of successful national teams over the years have used. We saw what Spain did between Barcelona and Real Madrid, and that's a bit of a different case. But I love the idea of getting some of those players together more regularly for their club sides.
Yeah, not bad. And the Arsenal report came from Gazzetta dello Sport for McKennie, and then Fabrizio Romano saying that Leeds are interested and want to sign him. So there's interest in him there, and it certainly seems like obviously Juve are in a situation where they are looking at selling players. So keep an eye on Weston McKennie in the final week of the window. Couple of other players to round up. I mean, just a quick word on Chris Richards. He feels like a new signing for Crystal Palace, even though he's not. Obviously missed most of the first half of the season through injury. Come in and played really well in a couple of tough games for Crystal Palace. Nick, what are your thoughts? Because that was really good for the US national team, because there's obviously a bit of a gap there at centre-back. As well as Tim Ream continues to play, he can't go on forever. We're already looking at the guys to come in for the next World Cup. But Richards is taking that next step now that we hoped he would at Crystal Palace under Patrick Vieira, isn't he?
Yeah, I showed a real verve out there. There were a couple times he looked a little naive and maybe caught out by his aggression, but that's kind of where I want to see those lessons be learned, as opposed to on a pitch in CONCACAF. I know that sounds goofy to Palace.
And also take out some of the aggression, not have to teach a player to be more aggressive and confident in them. So it's much easier to go one way than the other.
Yeah, and I really liked him. I mean, had a chance flash wide. You know, my pet peeve, I think I've mentioned this enough, is commentators like us or Premier League commentators saying, oh, he had to do better with that when it's a header. And I'm like, yeah, you take a 60-yard cross that you only saw for the last 2 meters. But anyways, I thought he was very good in that game, very promising. And the problem at Palace right now is that Anderson and Guehi have been very, very good. That's one of their strengths. And I don't know. I'd like to see Palace with Richards out there with a real midfield, because right now it's just a gap for them. So maybe Weston McKennie can go there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, he's worked out. And Chris Richards obviously has waited his time. He's had injuries, but he's got his chance now, and he really has taken it. So that's great to see. He was in Alan Shearer's Premier League Team of the Week, by the way, the official league team of the week. So just to give you a little indication of how well the first couple of games for him in the Premier League, first couple of starts have gone. Rounding up the other news, Haji Wright has been linked to several Premier League teams, according to reports in Turkey from Ajanspor. Southampton have made a bid. Brentford have been linked. Crystal Palace. Be intrigued to see what is next for him. Obviously, scoring a lot of goals in the Turkish top flight. He has been linked as well with Galatasaray and Fenerbahce as well, 2 giants in Turkey. So I don't know what you do with him, right, Andy? Do you make the jump to the Premier League and maybe on a team that, you know, some of those teams mentioned there, especially Southampton, could be struggling to be in the Premier League next season? Do you go to a team where you're going to be the main man, maybe like that, and score a bunch of goals either in the Championship or help them stay up? Or do you continue to rise, if you will, and go to one of the Turkish giants? I don't know. I don't know what's next for Haji Wright. But it was a pleasant surprise during the World Cup to see how well he did. I know we all pulled for Jordan Peacock to be in that squad, but Haji Wright had that target forward role, and I thought he had a really good World Cup.
Yeah, I just hope Haji is realistic in whatever decision he makes here in the next couple of weeks. If he's to go to Southampton to be the striker, and the hope is to keep them up, it's probably going to be a failure of a move for all parties involved. If he goes to Brentford to be Ivan Toney's backup, and for a couple of games when Toney is out, and they can do some similar-ish things, and not have to completely change the way they play, that might be a successful move. You'll also be guaranteed to be in the Premier League next season if, assuming the club wants to keep you around. Southampton, I don't know. You tell me, Joe. Is center forward the position where they absolutely have to have someone? And is it a player of Haji Wright's quality, though, that they need?
I watch them a lot for my sins, but they create a lot of chances, a lot of crosses into the box, and Shea Adams and Adam Armstrong just haven't been able to finish consistently for the last couple of seasons. Yeah. So Haji Wright always strikes me as someone who does pop up in the right places at the right time and can, tap ins and just slot them in. So maybe he's the answer, but we'll find out. So keep an eye on him in the final days of the window. I think keep an eye on the likes of Weah and Dest, maybe not this window, but for the summer as well. Be intriguing to see what happens with their club situations as well.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.